listening to your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
Słuchacie Your Brain on Air. Program rozpocznie się lada chwila. Miłego odbioru.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Your Brain on Air. I am your host, Olivote Larson, and Memory Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Memory Monday. That's what we're going to call it today, because we're going back in the memories. We're going back in the Twitter files, as I like to call them. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a fan of the Lakers, and I'm not talking about the Detroit Lakers, you know what I mean, that one sports team that is made up entirely of, like, varsity, is that what it's called when you're in high school? Literally, like, high school players, you know what I mean? Not that Lakers, we're referring to the LA Lakers, and we're going back into the Twitter files of Kobe Bryant, ladies and gentlemen. Play this footage.
Kobe Bryant famously said in 2006 that the night before he scored 81 points, he fueled up with pizza and grape soda. 7 years later, during a rerun of his 81-point game on TV, he made a callback to that story about what he ate the night before his big game when he put out this tweet, where he says, "Youthful metabolism. I'm fresh of pepperoni pizza and grape soda." If you don't already know, things like pizza and grape soda have been long rumored and recently confirmed by the Epstein files to be code words used by pedos. If you really must, you can look up on your own what each of those code words meant. But
ladies and gentlemen, pizza and grape soda is apparently what fueled his incredibly powerful career. I'm not going to deny he had an incredible career, apparently. I have to ask AI, what is Kobe Bryant so special for? What is he so special for? Kobe Bryant is special for his legendary Mamba mentality, an unmatched work ethic. What are we talking? I've heard so many. What's that one guy who was in Space Jam? Not LeBron James. What's his name? Michael Jordan. Yeah, he also has this kind of work hard. You know, he gambles a bunch. Isn't he the one with a gambling problem? He's the one that, like, bets on his own games. As a 5-time NBA champion and an 18-time All-Star, his legacy is defined by an insane scoring ability, elite two-way play, and iconic clutch moments, solidifying him as one of basketball's greatest. Say this Nest basketball article at NBA.com. Interesting. Okay. I gotta be honest with you, I didn't know any of his stats. I didn't know any of what he was known for. I'm really not into the NBA Hall of Knowledge, as you may have called it. What was that one, like, the Netflix series that everybody got obsessed with for a minute? Was it called Last Dance or something? Was that about Michael Jordan? Am I confusing my NBA athletes? Whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna stop talking about things that I know barely anything about, except for, the only reason I bring up the Kobe situation is I want to redefine his legacy as one of a person who got away with a serious crime the year that I was born, the year of our Lord, 2003, and I want to make sure that people remember that instance for which they intimidated witnesses, made her go away, you know, all these sorts of things. It was like the Weezer song, "Go away," and she did, ladies and gentlemen. She retracted that claim of sexual abuse. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get out of the sports world. We are going to get into the real world of the happenings, like the Strait of Hormuz, the closure causing energy crises everywhere. More specifically, the Asian world is where we're going to cover, ladies and gentlemen. So let's just hop into our first story. Go. The energy markets of Asia are currently under a stranglehold as an effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz is transforming it from a regional military standoff into a systematic collapse of what the continent's fuel supply is able to handle, ladies and gentlemen. They're tapping into the reserves, and a lot of them, they're still having to resort to rolling blackouts. So if you need to cook your ramen, you're going to have to start going with the open flame technique, with nearly 80% of the oil and gas that passes through the narrow waterway destined for Asian ports. Countries like Japan, South Korea, and India are now facing what experts are calling an existential threat to their industrial stability. In Japan, which relies mostly on Middle East for over 90% of its crude oil. That's wow. Okay, authorities have already begun a record release of 80 million barrels from strategic reserves, while Tokyo and Electric Power has warned that rolling blackouts may be necessary by the end of the month to preserve their dwindling natural gas stocks. Ugh. Yeah, okay. So, if you have running water, if you're in a country that has, cities that are able to keep the lights on at night, that's pretty nice. You know what I mean? I'm just going to say it. We're redefining what a third, second, first world country is with this. The crisis is hitting the pocketbooks of citizens from New Delhi to Seoul to all the regions that you can think of in the Asian world with brutal speed. In India, where the government relies on the strait for nearly 90% of its liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, rationing has already begun for commercial users. Household booking cycles are being forcibly extended. South Korean refineries are facing a logistical nightmare, in their words, as war risk insurance premiums for tankers have surged over 600%. I mean, when you're planning on using it, insurance companies are going to charge you a little bit more, leading to stranded vessels. Can you imagine being on some raft in the middle of, let's call it the Bay of Bengal or something like that, and then you're trapped out there. There's no hope. The government can't even afford to come out and help you. A chemical shortage is particularly alarming for the region's manufacturing sector, with analysts predicting a halt in production for everything from plastic packaging to semiconductor components if a breakthrough isn't reached within the next 48 hours. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't appreciate the Trump administration's handling of this situation whatsoever. Their outward speech of him saying the negotiations with Iran, of the halting and whatnot, the talks in order to get us to a place where we're not throwing bombs at each other. He says the talks are going great. Iran immediately comes out and denies. They say the talks are going disastrously. I don't know. Who do we believe here? You know what I mean? Maybe the ones that are saying that it's not going very well, because I feel like there's no real reason to lie about that. The geopolitical response has been a mix of desperate diplomacy and strategic hedging, while President Trump has issued a final 48-hour ultimatum for Iran to reopen the strait or face the annihilation of its power grid. Asian leaders are quietly seeking their own back channels. Reports suggest that Japan and India have opened direct negotiations with Tehran to secure safe passage for their specific flagged vessels, a move that could drive a wedge between the U.S. and Pacific allies. Stock markets in Tokyo and Hong Kong plunged to yearly lows. That is incredible. The Asian century is suddenly being tested by its oldest vulnerability, a total dependence on a 21-mile stretch of water that is currently a no-go zone for its global economy. They rely on this oil more so than a lot of the Western individuals, which hopefully most of us are if you're listening to this show. If you are in Chengdu listening to my show, first of all, shit. Yeah, give me a second. Give me a minute. I'm being entertaining for your, is it traditional or simplified? For your entertainment.
您正在收听 Your Brain on Air.
There you go.
节目即将开始，敬请欣赏。
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. If you are this show has not been approved by the Chinese Communist Party. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed there. I remember at one point I made a video. I think it was, cannot remember exactly what I was talking about in China, but it was my first video to ever get flagged and taken down and restricted in some regions. So that is very curious, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get an update on the Strait of Hormuz from an official web source, so you don't just have to trust me.
3 weeks into the expanding war in the Middle East, shipping through the Strait of Hormuz is only possible with Iranian permission. The waterway is critical to the shipment of the world's oil supply, and that is exacting growing pain across this globe. We get more now from CBS's Anna Corin in Taipei, Taiwan.
As drones and missiles rain havoc on oil and gas facilities across the Middle East, thousands of miles away, the war has triggered a crisis in Asia, with energy shortages hitting almost every country on the continent, all dependent on the Persian Gulf for supply.
Damn.
Japan and South Korea are tapping into strategic reserves, while developing countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, and the Philippines are rationing fuel and closing gas stations.
There's fellas at this gas station, the petrol station, as I believe a lot of the Eastern countries call them. They have cigarettes in their mouths. They have teeth missing. You know what I mean? Half of them look like they have maybe 4. And you know what they're in different places. They can't smile right, but they have a cigarette and they have a open bed truck full of water jugs that are full of gas, so they're stocking up. They are being smart. I must admit, human ingenuity, it is there and present in every person, no matter your class, no matter your race.
In India, protests have erupted over surging prices and acute shortages. China has reserves and pipelines, but has already banned exports of jet fuel, diesel and fertilizer, which is having a knock-on effect. In self-governed Taiwan that produces the world's high-end semiconductors, there are serious concerns of what a protracted conflict will mean for the island democracy that imports 97% of its energy.
That won't be good.
We are going to feel the same impact as other countries. The rising LNG price, rising oil price, as they're going to hurt the economy, our economy.
Its Deputy Foreign Minister, Chen Mingqi,
Chen
says the
Mingqi.
government is now racing to find alternative supplies.
What happened in the Middle East tell us that's very important for us to diversify our energy supply.
Will Taiwan be buying more LNG from the United States?
Definitely, I think that we have to diversify.
Hell
If
yeah.
the crisis in the Middle East drags on, it could prove to be a windfall for American energy companies, in particular natural gas producers, as governments across Asia, including here in Taiwan, try to secure long-term supply.
Let's talk real, honestly. I don't see this conflict ending well, regardless of whether or not we stay here for very long, whether or not we lock it up, whether or not we, take the full, approach, the Sodom and Gomorrah, and make 2 cities or so disappear. And, that is the sort of lesson, I think, where it's like, I think that many people are leaning in the direction of, just take them out if it means that, or if we're gonna start having to send people from Mississippi who just graduated and should be living their lives, you know what I mean? If we're gonna have to be taking young people with opportunity and sending them to war sometime soon, I think a lot of Americans are saying, yeah, just make a couple major cities disappear and make them surrender. I think that's unfortunately the very common, I would say the dinner table response. It's the one where you're sitting around. You're with your family. You're relaxed, as honest as you can be in this world. Straightforward. You're not bullshitting, and you're just saying to your mom while she's getting the scalloped potatoes on your plate, and you're just going, "I want no Persians left. I want them all." And by Persians, people should be smart enough to know that I'm talking about Iran. Otherwise, your mom's from America, so she'll go, "What are the Persians? You got an issue with the cats?" And then she's gonna scoop another thing of, I don't know, some greens on your plate, maybe some collard greens, you know what I mean? And then you go, "Mama, do you even know about Bibi Netanyahu?" And then she, of course, you know what I mean, she watches, whatever, the news. She's not that well informed, but she knows that Benjamin Netanyahu is fighting to give the Israeli people divinity and truth and a light at the end of the tunnel. And she'll tell you that you're going to set off her Hebrew programming. You're going to set off the internals in her that are going to go, "Well, honey, they're God's chosen people, and we really gotta choose who we'd rather be paired with. Do you want to be paired with the people who practice democracy and who have Judeo-Christian values," which, by the way, aren't a real thing, "or do you want to be paired with the Muslims that wear towels on their heads and oppress their women? Do you hate your mother?" And then she's like very complex, like somehow her feminism only expouts to those like in regimes that we can overturn and topple with missiles. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's cover the Bibi Netanyahu statement about how he says other countries and leaders are gonna need to join the United States here in order to end this conflict, which I would discourage.
It's time that the leaders of the other nations join up. Netanyahu calls for a world war.
For the entire world. And it's time to see the leaders of the rest of the countries join up.
Trump imposed an ultimatum on Iran that they should open up the Strait of Hormuz or they will destroy the entire power grid in Iran. This is interesting because Trump just said that they don't even use the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's Khatam al-Abiya leadership say they will destroy desalination plants in the Gulf and in Israel. They will target all gas and energy facilities and financial institutions if this happens.
If I were the Iranians, I would actually take out Israeli desalination plants now. right now. End Israel right now.
This would mean millions of Arabs and Jews have to flee to Europe and North Africa as a crisis where people would run out of water within 10 days. The IDF leadership says that the next strike could hit Europe, despite the United States Department of War saying they're not able to confirm that the missile that was launched at Diego Garcia was launched by Iran.
Does NATO share that Israeli assessment?
We cannot confirm that at the moment.
And Iran denies launching this missile. Israel is complaining about the use of multiple re-entry vehicle bombs. Meanwhile, they carpet-bombed Lebanon and Gaza with cluster bombs and white phosphorus. Senator Lindsey Graham says any amount of deaths is acceptable so long as there isn't a nuclear threat from Iran.
Listen, that's classic Lindsey. He's okay with anything that you have to do in order to make things happen. And I love that about Lindsey. He is an absolutist.
White House is plagiarizing the Israeli Foundation for Defense of Democracy and their justification for war, which is really interesting. The Jerusalem Post is featuring opinions saying Israel needs to depopulate and colonize southern Lebanon, and that American Jewish groups have to abandon the idea of a two-state solution, and they must support Israeli settlers. Now Israeli settlers are colonizing the West Bank and attacking random inhabitants, even in the Christian village. Iranian leadership, like the foreign policy advisor, says there will be no diplomacy until there's a final end to the war, echoing what they've said for the last 20 days. It looks like there won't be any off-ramp. This will only escalate, and other nations may get involved. This can easily escalate far out of hand.
And it's going to. You're losing, by the way, a lot of the rights. You're losing Tucker Carlson. You're losing Nick Fuentes. This is one of the least popular things you've done. And I'm not saying you, the listener. I'm saying you, the Trump administration. This is the least popular thing they could have done. This is no one who voted for him was hoping for a regime change war. No, except for maybe, let's call it 15% of the population. It's not very many. So this is a moment from an interview with not Israeli because he's not Israeli, but the United States ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. He had an interview that I listened to long ago when it first came out with Tucker Carlson, and it was phenomenal. It's amazing to look back on because it is incredibly revealing about how evangelical Christianity is inherently, and I think Tucker Carlson shouldn't have taken back his statement that evangelical Christianity and is inherently Zionism, like the Zionist Christians, they are a form of a mind virus, and I think he shouldn't have taken back that statement. I think it was actually it was a good, succinct definition that it is contrary, it runs counter to Christianity. This is like blood guilt, the things that Zionism inherently requires and believes in. This is it's contrary to anything that Christians on their own would believe in. So I want to play a moment from this, a couple moments, because it's like a collage of a few that just don't make Mike Huckabee look very good. Here is Mike Huckabee, the big, is he from Texas? The big Texas hamburger.
Israel is a land that God gave through Abraham to a people that he chose. It was a people, a place, and a purpose.
U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee has sparked outrage over comments made during an interview with American commentator Tucker Carlson.
I'm not going to let you off on this because you have said 3 times that God gave this land to this people. And so it is entirely fair for me, with respect, to ask, what land are you talking about? Because I just read Genesis 15, as I have many times. Mm-hmm. And that land, I think it says, from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is once again, basically the entire Middle East. So
majority of it.
That land to his people, the Jews, or he didn't. You're saying he did. What does that mean? Does Israel have the right to that land? Because you're appealing to Genesis.
Yeah.
You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if they took it all.
Huckabee also called Area C in the occupied West Bank, where repeated settler attacks have forced much of the Palestinian population to flee, part of Israel.
So they're moving all these Americans, people from around the world, into settlements subsidized by Americans in the West Bank.
Now, they're not moving them from around the world to the settlements. They're people who make Aliyah. They come.
I'm just saying.
These are Israelis who live in Israel. Well, there are a lot of people. And Area C is Israel. Okay.
Several Arab countries have responded.
Area C, yes, is Israel. But actually, let's bring up the areas plan. The areas A, B, and C in Israel. Yes, because I wanted to make it very clear and I wanted to explain it to a lot of people. Areas A, B, and C, they are administrative divisions in the West Bank established by the 1990s Oslo Accords. Area A is 18% Palestinian controlled. Area B is 22% of it. It's shared control between Israeli and Palestinian control, and Area C is full Israeli control. So he's not inherently wrong claiming that they have some level of heritage, like what's it called? They have some level of decree over that section. However, it has never been, and it has always been the policy of the United States, at least for the longest time, that we have upheld that the settlements are counter to the United States policy and we don't support them. I remember Obama, he held up that account and he got a lot of flack for it for being anti-Semitic. Anyways, let's continue.
And Area C is Israel. Okay.
Several Arab countries have responded by denouncing Huckabee's statement as reckless, provocative, and irresponsible. But they aren't new. In June, the ambassador told Bloomberg News that a Palestinian state in the occupied West Bank is no longer a U.S. policy goal, and that Israel's Muslim neighbors could give up their land instead to create one. The ambassador's apparent disregard for regional sovereignty did not stop there. He also listed several neighboring countries, many of them close U.S. allies, as fronts in Israel's regional war.
I keep hearing Israel's fighting a 7-front war. What are those 7 fronts?
Well, you got Lebanon. You have Egypt. Now, Egypt is not an active war, but you have the Muslim Brotherhood within Egypt. You've got the Muslim Brotherhood in Jordan. You've got Syria.
Wait, they're fighting war with Jordan?
With the Muslim Brotherhood that is in Jordan. Not directly with Jordan, not the government of Jordan.
But are they...
You've got Hezbollah, Houthis.
In Yemen.
You have Hamas in Gaza. You have the threats that come from Iran.
But Huckabee did have praise for one country.
One place as an exception is the Emiratis, and I love those folks because they are so progressive, but they're really trying to do things that are beyond what anyone else in the region. They change their textbooks. They teach that Israel is not a nation they should hate or seek to annihilate.
His apparent disregard for the sovereignty of existing countries in the region, including Palestinian rights to statehood, has alarmed several Arab states and U.S. allies. It marks yet another step in which U.S. policy seems to be increasingly out of line with its Arab neighbors and increasingly deferent to Israel's government.
Increasingly deferent, excuse you. All right, as though this has been on an increase or whatever. I mean, yeah, it kind of has. We haven't been willing to go to war yet with them, and only with the first Jewish president, according to Mark Levin. Were we able to do that? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to play this clip before we close out this section about the Iran war to prove how much the Trump administration has lost the plot when it comes to influence in right-wing circles. The Groypers, as we know, are a massive influence, especially in the Instagram spheres, the 4chan sphere, everywhere. It's broken out of the niche little vices in the internet and all that sort of stuff. It's everywhere. Nick Fuentes is done. He's done, and he says he would be willing to vote for a Democrat come 2028, and then he is renouncing himself from voting entirely in 2026. Let's play this clip.
This has to be the breaking point. This is the breaking point for the GOP coalition. You buried the Epstein files. There is no border wall. You didn't deliver on mass deportations. You cut corporate tax rates for the rich by cutting Medicaid again. No infrastructure bill, no middle-class tax cuts. You got to refund the tariffs, and now we're in a regime change war with Iran. That's the breaking point. I'm out. I'm done. I am off the Trump train. I am not voting in 26. If Rubio or Vance are on the ticket in any form in 28, I'm voting for a Democrat.
Whew. That is rough, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, where else do we go from here? Where else do we go from here? Is there such a thing as right and left when people like Tucker Carlson are putting out interviews that sound genuinely meaningful, hopeful? I've always thought that to some extent, we've always had a little more in common than we all think, ladies and gentlemen. Before you know it, Rachel Maddow, she's going to be having a kid with him. And let's call it right now. Nick Fuentes is going to find some beautiful black queen on MSNBC to have children with. Maybe Joy Reid. Maybe Joy Reid. That's my assumption, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of Joy Reid, ladies and gentlemen, there is another J celebrity. Not J as in the way that I often say, Jew, but J as in their name starts with a J that we need to cover. Another celebrity, Justin Timberlake, because I want to engage with the goy slop a little bit. I want to engage with celebrity culture because this video, it makes me happy that good old drink driving charges, we're not going light on them anymore, ladies and gentlemen. I admit, I've always hated the fact that we treat drunk drivers so cruelly. Ever since Mothers Against Drunk Driving, ever since they went and ruined it all because a couple of their kids died, you know what I mean? Ever since they went and made all the major laws against it, back in the day, they used to just give you a ride. If they pulled you over and you were drunk, they would be like, let's get your car, can you come get it tomorrow or something? And then they'd give you a ride home. If it was off on the side of the road, you were fine, ladies and gentlemen. This is just how it used to work back in the day. And now you might have to go to a mandatory class. You might lose your license. There's all sorts of punishments now for drunk driving. And I've always said it's ridiculous to punish an innocent fella who just was looking to have a good time behind the wheel. You know what I mean? Just as you have a right to traverse the roads securely and without the fear of death, they have the right to put you in the fear of death, ladies and gentlemen. That's the American way, and I've always believed that at heart, ladies and gentlemen. And unfortunately, with these draconian restrictions on drunk driving, they've affected the little man. They've ruined many people. They've bankrupted some people. I personally know people who've lost their entire lives because they have they went out to a party, they decided they wanted to go home, they didn't want to wait for their friend and whatever. Maybe their designated driver got drunk or something, and then they end up having to take themselves home, and then they lose their jobs, their car is impounded. And it's unfortunate, it's sad because there's nothing you can do for these people. What are you gonna do? Give them a place to sleep on your couch? It's like I have guests coming over in the morning, you know what I mean? I'm hosting brunch. You're not, but you just want them out, you know what? I'm just being honest, you know what I mean? These unfortunately, it's just, you've seen it destroy so many people's lives. But I'm really happy about this, ladies and gentlemen, that if we are going to have these draconian rules about drunk driving, that we are going to enforce them evenly across the board. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if we are going to release body cam footage of like some teacher or something getting arrested because she was drinking around her students, and one of them noticed that she was getting sloppy and shit, and she had like some sort of like really stink on her breath, and then they were like, it smells like that one stuff that people use to clean your wounds, and then they tell a teacher's aide, and then if we're going to be revealing body cam footage and embarrassing some poor teacher from Kansas, I think that we should be willing to embarrass celebrities, ladies and gentlemen. Justin Timberlake, let's just talk about it. Go. Justin Timberlake, drunk driving arrest, caught on camera. The footage is out. The world tour is back in the headlines. Folks, not for the new album. I didn't care for it. After nearly a 2-year legal battle, police in Sag Harbor, New York, have finally released the 8-hour body cam footage of Justin Timberlake's infamous 2024 drunk driving arrest. We covered the footage of him publicly apologizing because I thought it was dorky. He did that in exchange for, I think it was jail time or community service. And he was like, I'll make a statement about how I was not at my best when I was drinking. And I thought it was cuck behavior. I thought that it was loser behavior. Because if you drink and drive, I've always said, have the bravery to stand by it. If you're willing to do it, because you know what I mean? Sometimes you're in a jam, or sometimes you want to have fun. Sometimes you want to feel the wind through your hair. Sometimes you want to hit the yard after a couple glasses of, 2 gingers, and you want to cruise it down an I-90, whatever. You know what I mean? Cruise it down the highway a little bit. I get it. Some people are like that. That's literally all that they have in this life. They don't have relationships. They don't have family. So they go out drinking and driving. But Justin Timberlake has no excuse. He has a world tour to be ready for. love that this footage, it hit the public domain, and this past Friday, after a judge denied the singer's final attempt to block it, and it captures the pop icon in what his own lawyers describe as an acutely vulnerable state, struggling through a field sobriety test on a quiet Hamptons roadside. The Hamptons, what a beautiful area to have this happen. The video has quickly gone viral, specifically for a series of awkward exchanges between Timberlake and the young officer who seemingly didn't recognize the Grammy winner. He at one point goes, he stutters and he goes, "I'm on world tour." The officer goes like, "What do you do?" And then Timberlake goes, "How to explain? I'm Justin Timberlake." And then the footage captures him doing a walk and turn. He stumbles a little bit. He repeatedly tells the officers, "These are like really, really hard tests." And he's like, "My heart's racing." So, while the legal matter was technically settled late 2024 when Timberlake pleaded guilty to lesser charge of impaired driving and filmed a public safety announcement, the release of the actual video has reignited a firestorm of public scrutiny. We are going to ignore a lot of that. Phineas or whatever, they've already weighed in online, some calling the footage unintentionally hilarious, others arguing that the release is unnecessary invasion of his privacy. Who gives a shit? Timberlake himself has remained incredibly quiet on the record. He doesn't want to put out a public statement as near as I can tell. So let's review for the public. This will be in the description if you want to view it yourself.
So the reason for the stop is because you're veering off to the left and then you're not stopping at the stop sign.
First of all, I can read it as someone who has, we've all been in a bind, and we've all had to get home at some point. As someone who has been in an experience where you drive past a cop, their lights turn on, maybe you're a little impaired or whatever, and they have the flashlight in your face. This is the face of true terror. You can see his heart beating out of his mouth. He looks like he has a bit of a coke jaw. Like, that's immediately going to make the cop suspicious. You have to control your face. His bottom lip is pulling down in this weird little nervous, contraction, and his bottom teeth are exposed. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Is this your vehicle? Whose vehicle is it? It's a rental. It's a rental?
It's just a rental.
Do you have any registration with it? Do you know if they can put it in the glove box?
Let me check. Oh man, he is struggling to.
How long are you renting it for?
Just for a couple of days.
What are you visiting?
Yeah, I'm on tour.
What are you doing?
I'm on a world tour.
What?
A world tour.
Doing what?
Hard to explain.
Hard to explain. This is the point where things are embarrassing. You should never name drop, because at this point they are not very familiar with your name. Even if you can picture celebrities with the name, you can picture Meryl Streep, you can picture Danny DeVito. If they have not already recognized you via your face, don't drop "I'm Justin Timberlake."
Tour. I'm Justin Timberlake.
What's your name?
Justin Timberlake.
You are Justin Timberlake?
Yeah.
Do you have a license with you?
Yeah, I do.
And then when we do this,
okay,
like you're doing...
They've got him out of the car. I love his fit. Can we mention this? It is a little graphic tee, and I don't know what that is. It says College Satellite or something like that, and then it has like this logo underneath that. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. He has this nice short sleeve button up, and it's a nice little black one. He clearly wanted to look nice for his night out.
Arms, feet together, arms by your side. You're doing it just now.
He's got some jeans.
Before we continue, okay?
Oof.
Arms by your side, feet together, and then you're gonna keep your head straight, and just keep your head straight. Only follow with your eyes, okay?
Okay.
You understand that?
All right. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Oh man, he's dialed in. Oh, he's moving his head, but I see his eyes. I see his eyes moving. But he's moving his head just a little bit.
Left foot on the line first.
Okay, you can see that this is another police angle. Because normally 2 officers have to be there in order to run a DUI test. In order to actually do that they need 2 officers there to observe. So that's why you'll see if they pull somebody over for a DUI, 2 cruisers will be there. If there's only one, eventually the other one will show up.
And then you're going to put your right foot in front of your left, stay just like that. Okay? You're going to heel to toe like this. heel to toe.
Oh, he's struggling.
Put your left foot on the line. Yep. You're gonna have your right foot in front of you.
I've done this before. When I was impaired, I was at one point, wasn't doing this under the instruction of a police officer, thankfully. I was doing it of my own volition. I was in my apartment and I wanted to get the experience of what it felt like to do this. So I went ahead and I did like the heel to toe walk. And I was, you know, I don't generally drink, but it was a night where I was like, we're gonna turn up the dial a little bit to see how efficient the human body is when it comes to like working under pressure. Now, I did not have any police officers present. I didn't have any law enforcement officers present. I was not about to call the police in order to report myself for nothing, and in order to just get law enforcement there to test to see if I was actually operating within the confines of what would pass the test. Whatever. Of my own grading, I think I passed with flying colors, but then again, I may be a little biased.
On your left, heel to toe. Here. Okay, so we're going to put our left foot on the line first. Put your right foot in front of your left, heel to toe.
He's just fixing his watch.
Like that, okay?
Okay.
So it's going to be a series of 9 heel to toe steps. I will demonstrate this like you're doing right now. Like this. 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 9.
Oh, he's just rubbing his face.
Small steps around. 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 9. Back.
He's not catching any of
this.
this.
Heel to toe. So you're going to be clicking your heels as you're going. Arms by your side. While you're doing this, you're going to look down at your toes.
Guys, I'm just following.
Oh, he went ahead, put out his arms like a little guy who's about to, you know, he's like, I'm gonna get emotional with you guys really quick. I'm gonna be really honest. He did the Jesus hands where he's like pushing away, but he's kind of like he wants to look gentle. I'm just following my friends back to my house. I'm not like.
I'm not doing anything. I'm just following my friends back to my house.
Will you do these tests?
Sure.
Oh man.
And then just walk. I'm sorry.
Ready?
I'm a little nervous.
Left. Right foot in front. You're gonna look down.
I'm a little nervous.
1.
I'm sure you are.
2. Okay. 3. Got you. 4. Like that. Okay. Hang on. Let him tell you when to go. He's gonna tell you when to start. Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Don't worry about it.
Sorry.
No, I want to make sure.
I'm sorry.
I want to make sure you do this right.
Right foot in front of your left.
Is this my line?
Is this my line?
That's the line you're gonna walk.
1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000.
Man.
Remember, just continue. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. Gotcha.
And listen, this is the angle to pull. I think that every person has their own way to approach getting pulled over. If you are under the influence of alk and you had a few beers, they can already tell you're probably getting the tests. If you're under the influence of, let's call it any other substance, you have to eat it, you have to smoke it, you have to do whatever. It's a little bit harder for them to tell. They don't always have the on-hand tests in order to make sure that you're actually guilty. The best thing you can do is blame some form of sleep agent, some form of like sleep helper or whatever. You can go like, hey, I have the same thing that Michael Jackson's doctor. I got somebody who's doing that for me every night, and they'll understand. They'll get it if they're chill about it.
Sorry. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000.
4 1,000.
5 1,000. You want me to keep going?
Yep. Yeah.
That's
all I'll tell you to stop.
He goes, do you want me to keep going? And he sticks his hands out to him.
Okay.
All sassy.
1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000.
Alright, that's all good.
Ooh, he flopped.
Right.
By the way, these are like really hard tests.
So the way this device works, you just put your lips over it and you
Oh, they're walking up to him with the breathalyzer. This is probably my favorite reaction he gives.
blow into it like you're blowing a balloon.
No. Yeah.
Alright, at this point, based upon the observations, you're under the arrest for suspicion of driving while intoxicated. So what I would do is turn around.
You Come on, man. Like,
You know what,
I'm
man?
just calling my friends home. I'm.
Alright, just turn around for me, please.
Oh, he's not gonna. Oh, yeah, he's doing it. He knows what's good for him.
Alright, I'll take you right up.
Poor Justin. This is gonna ruin the world tour.
9-7 headquarters, 132 and 192.
But at this point, I know my hair sucks here, but like I usually look good.
So at this point, he's coming with us. Okay.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No, why?
He's arrested for intoxicated.
Stop it.
Yes.
No way.
I love that. That's my favorite reaction that you can give to a police officer. Stop it. No way.
Don't say it.
Don't say it.
He's coming with us.
He's coming with us, okay?
You look like you're okay to drive. Okay, I don't see any. Your eyes are perfectly fine. Your speech isn't slurred. So if you're
arresting.
You're arresting?
Yes.
What?
Okay, alright, just take a seat.
You're arresting Justin Timberlake right now? And he goes, yes. And she goes, you know you can't do that, right? He'll have you killed. I'm trying to save you. You need to let him go now. They don't realize that she's trying to help them.
Right now, he's under arrest.
Under arrest.
For driving while intoxicated.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Justin Timberlake's under arrest. Can you help me, please? Can we do anything? Can you please stop it? I'll do anything.
No,
Can you please stop it? I'll do anything. I love that. She should offer anything.
I mean, it is what it is at this point, okay?
So you can't, like, put him in jail.
He's going to be held for the night.
I can't take him home?
He's arraigned for the morning.
There has to be a moment of talking.
No. Not anymore.
Please help me!
Ugh.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
This
Can
is,
I...
This is the registration of the vehicle. Just make sure it stays with the vehicle, okay?
Please help
I have
me.
his phone.
Yeah. Yep.
Can you guys please just do me a favor because you left bye or
I'm
like
happy.
sexy back?
I'm
Like, do
happy.
me one favor. Let me ask him if he wants me to give him his phone.
Yeah. I mean,
This is amazing. I cannot describe to you how much I love his manager, I think, or girlfriend, something along those lines, trying to go, sexy back, fucking, what's it called? Bye. You got, can I please ask him if he wants his phone?
this is the registration of the vehicle. Just make sure it stays with the vehicle, okay?
I have his phone.
Yeah. Yep.
Can you guys please just do me a favor because you left bye or
I'm
like
happy.
sexy back?
I'm
Like, do
happy.
me one favor. Let me ask him if he wants me to give him his phone.
This is so
This
embarrassing.
is insane.
So it's not going to be a long thing. I'll let you walk up real quick.
Please.
Okay, so my partner here, I don't know the details obviously, I wasn't the one to stop you. My partner here observed you, some kind of traffic violation, started a traffic stop, believed you have impairment, did a series of routine tests on you, right? Field sobriety tests, okay? You performed poorly on those, okay?
Okay.
Based off of his observations, you are intoxicated.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you're under arrest for DWI. Okay?
Okay.
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 All we're asking is if you understand what was just read to you.
Yeah, I hear you.
Perfect.
And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna reread this again. We're gonna go through the rest of it, but at this
No, I
at this
got
point,
you. I got you.
At this point, it asks for initials. If you don't want an initial, you're not required to. You can't be forced to. And then I will read the rest of it. Okay? Will you initial or no?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'll read the rest of it. for you.
Like,
Now, do you consent or refuse to the chemical test?
no, I'm not doing a chemical test. Like,
Uh.
guys, I don't mean no harm. Like,
What?
I understand. We believe you to be under the influence of alcohol
okay,
and operating in motor vehicle, right?
okay. But I
Okay.
don't mean no harm.
I didn't say you did. Right?
But I don't
Everyone
mean
makes a
no
mistake or
harm.
two in their life, right? You had too much to drink. You drove the car, right?
This new generation of celebrities, he was born in 81. This new generation of older celebrities, because you got to talk about this. Millennials and Gen X are now the older people. They are now the definition of establishment media. Justin Timberlake is just an establishment name at this point. And, I think that it's an embarrassing, subsect. I think that it's an embarrassing dilemma because at least when the boomers and the silent generation, you look at the Rat Pack, you look at gentlemen that were born in the 1900s, you look at celebrities from ages ago that used to get arrested for DUIs, that used to get busted for cocaine. All that they would get out of it was maybe a couple fun stories from the guards that like arrested them, and you'd get a cool mugshot photo or something out of it. That is what celebrity arrests used to be. Now with Gen X and millennials getting arrested, it's the douchey kind of Eminem influenced personality going like, man, I didn't mean no harm. That's like the intent. The intent behind it is what matters. Like, man, like,
okay, it's whatever,
They have no class. They have no respect. It's like, it's very, it's an in-sync generation.
I'm not here to judge it. Just, we got a job today.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your understanding.
By the way, I appreciate that you're doing that.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. What was the traffic violation?
What was the traffic violation? All right, very fun. If you want to see the rest of it, it's him having fun with the officers, and then eventually getting put into a jail cell for the remainder of his night. But for the rest of today, we have to talk about things that are meaningful. We have to talk about things that are happening now. We have to talk about the rapid fire section of today's headlines, where we're going to break down a bunch of the biggest things happening in the world today, and whether or not you got to pay attention to them is, it's up to you. Whether or not you pay attention to the fact that the Russian government is telling doctors to send women to psychologists if they don't want kids, that's up to you. I think that it's pretty important. Let's listen to this new article.
The Russian government is telling doctors to send women to psychologists if they don't want to have kids. Here's what we know. A new
Why not?
directive from the Russian Ministry of Health recommends sending women who do not want to have children to psychologists with the goal of changing their minds as a means of addressing the country's population crisis. Doctors are encouraged to refer patients for consultations with psychiatric professionals to help foster a positive attitude toward motherhood. Healthcare professionals are also now required to invite women ages 18 to 49 to attend annual medical consultations to assess their reproductive...
Well, because I guess we have to address this very virulent medical issue, that not enough women have the mental desire to have children. That is an issue that can only be fixed and repaired through when do they do shock therapy, things like that? I can't imagine. I don't know whether or not Russia's that far ahead medically. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's very
men of the same age group
very
will get
Soviet.
Similar physical consultations. However, there is no mention of sending them to psychologists. Since coming to power 25 years ago, President Vladimir Putin has been fighting against the declining birth rate in Russia, a phenomenon that has worsened since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Russia's birth rate is currently at its lowest level in 200 years, at around 1.4 children per woman, well below the 2.1 child threshold that demographers consider necessary to stabilize the population.
That's not ideal for them, unfortunately. Whatever. If you're not Russian, then maybe that doesn't matter very much to you. What should matter to you is a man has been charged with the murder and fatal shooting of Loyola student, Chicago police say earlier. Sunday, DHS alleged that the suspect had been an undocumented immigrant from Venezuela. Very, very fun. Whether or not we have another Iranian sleeper agent from Venezuela will be determined by people on the internet.
Well, the Department of Homeland Security says the 25-year-old man now charged in this shooting is allegedly an undocumented immigrant from Venezuela. The attorney representing the victim's family saying tonight that this cannot be a story that fades with time. DHS released this photo today saying it is Jose Medina, who now faces felony charges of first-degree murder and aggravated use of a firearm for allegedly shooting and killing an 18-year-old student from Loyola University. Chicago police say Medina was arrested Friday night in Rogers Park just one day after he allegedly murdered Sheridan Gorman near West Pratt Boulevard while she was walking with a group of friends. Police say Medina approached the group, took out a gun, and opened fire as Gorman was shot in the head and died from her injuries. Today, the Department of Homeland Security urged Illinois officials to keep Medina behind bars while also issuing an ICE arrest detainer for allegedly living here illegally.
Send him out. Might as well. This is one that I'm fine with, the Ecuadorian prison where they shave your head. That's an okay one for this gentleman. The FDA sends warning to Ozempic maker for failing to report potential side effects. Everybody should know this by this point. Is this really news even? I'm just going to be honest with you. If you're taking GLP-1s to avoid, your appetite rather than just controlling it, even having a cigarette is healthier at this point.
But the FDA has issued a warning letter to Novo Nordisk, the maker of Ozempic and Wegovy, for failing to report potential side effects in patients who took this medication. The FDA cited 3 deaths among patients who took the medications, including one who died by suicide. They accused the company of failing to investigate or report the side effect. The FDA did not say the medications caused the deaths or other side effects. They say it is giving the company 2 weeks to notify it the actions it's going to take to prevent future violations. The company released a statement saying that they plan to address the request fully.
I would hope so. The Guthrie family releases a brand new statement. I'm going to be honest with you, the majority of it can just be equated to search your memories, especially around the times that she was taken, especially if you don't live in the Arizona area. Please think about this rather than anything else going on in the world. So, I'm not even going to give it the time of day. The metaverse actually is more interesting. The fact that the metaverse is shutting down, rip the metaverse.
In honor of the $80 billion metaverse shutting down, let's not forget that GTA 6 is set to look like this. It'd be the biggest game of all time for $2 billion. Sure, the metaverse was VR, but still. Hey, at least we got this video out of it.
Do you have a favorite feature?
Oh yeah, the one where he grows tits in the metaverse.
Cool. Check this out. Wow.
Wow.
That's pretty neat. Just for reference, we could have ended world hunger over 12 times, but now instead all we have is this clip.
Damn.
Now, let's also not forget that celebrities like Jake Paul, Snoop Dogg, Paris Hilton, and more all spent millions of dollars buying mansions and land on the metaverse because
Oof, that's
it was supposed
embarrassing.
to be the future.
I'm really happy that a lot of people are losing money with this. A lot of people are losing money in the tech industry, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know, the AI bubble is set to burst any day now. I think that the reality that is going to turn on these people eventually is that there currently is no model for making AI profitable. There's no model eventually for turning this major power sucker, this major you need constant money from cash investor. This is going to be a Theranos level rug pull, and I don't think people are ready for it. The CEO of Microsoft, he sounds incredibly and increasingly nervous about AI.
So apparently AI companies are getting nervous that not enough people are actually using AI and that it could cause the entire bubble to burst. You see, the Microsoft CEO recently spoke at the World Economic Forum and was practically begging companies to start using more AI at their firms because they're burning through so much energy to keep these massive data centers running that they might risk losing social permission to keep going if they don't start solving enough real-world problems, since most AI users just have it as a chatbot or a meme generator, and he's also the same guy that was begging people to stop calling it AI slop. But the reason this matters is because according to recent reports, over 50% of companies that implemented AI to cut down costs haven't seen any of the financial benefits that they were promised, and in fact 22% of them actually saw their costs go up because of AI. But the situation is even worse for OpenAI because according to their internal documents, they've been burning through so much money that they're projected to lose $14 billion in 2026, and the company might even run out of cash by early 2027 unless they can somehow secure additional funding.
I doubt they're going to. You know who is securing additional funding? Mr. Beast is receiving a ton of it from the LDS Christian Church. They become a major sponsor of him. This is according to major articles, according to even his, what is it called? His diamond level platform along these lines. Curious. I wonder, if you look at these statistics, Utah actually is the most popular state for Mr. Beast search results. So, I don't know, it kind of lines up perfectly, kind of like the OnlyFans owner's death at 43. That lined up perfectly, didn't it? With all of the new stuff coming out about how the porn industry might be headed by individuals who are deeply interested in the cultural rot of the world at large. The OnlyFans owner is suddenly dead. What are we talking about? Rest in peace, Leo Radvaninsky? What?
The owner of OnlyFans, Leo Radvaninsky, has passed away. A spokesman for the company told us, "We are deeply saddened to announce the death of Leo Radvaninsky. Leo passed away peacefully after a long battle with cancer. Leo was born in Ukraine but grew up in Chicago, and he took over as majority shareholder for OnlyFans in 2018. He was 43.
That is young, isn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's a bit young. You know what? We're going to cover our final story because I think this has been a long enough Monday broadcast. I think that it's been a good jaunt through a couple of major headlines, and I think that we honestly just need to cover what's going on with ICE and what's going on in airports across the country. So let's just get into our final story. Go. Travel turmoil across airports across the United States. We're screwed, ladies and gentlemen. If you had a flight, you are about to be delayed. You're about to experience some shutdowns, possibly. Airports across the country are descending into what is called a state of unprecedented chaos this week, as a perfect storm of record-breaking spring break crowds and a 39-day partial government shutdown pushing the nation's travel infrastructure to its breaking point. Nearly 10% of TSA officers calling out daily due to the missed paychecks, and over 400 agents resigning since February 14th. Wait times at major hubs like Hartsfield, Jackson, Atlanta, and New York's JFK have surged past the 5-hour mark. Geez, the crisis has reached a tipping point today as the Trump administration followed through on the controversial plan to deploy hundreds of ICE agents to the airport to supplement the thinning TSA crowds. Is it the greatest idea? Tom Homan certainly thinks that it's not a bad one. I would say that it's a mixed one. I don't mind the idea of doing immigration enforcement, at an airport. They've done it. They've done immigration at airports many times. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is, I don't know that having ICE agents on the ground is going to promote any sort of peaceful atmosphere. Speaking of the atmosphere, at security checkpoints, they're turning a little more volatile Monday morning as the first wave of ICE officers has arrived, notably appearing unmasked per a direct social media directive from the president. In Atlanta and Houston, witnesses reported intense verbal confrontations as frustrated travelers and civil rights activists, hounded the newly deployed agents, protesters, some carrying signs and megaphones challenging the agents' presence in civilian terminals, while House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries warned that placing untrained armed agents in crowded security lines could escalate or into dangerous or even fatal situations. The deployment is also triggering a fierce internal battle within the Department of Homeland Security. Border Czar Tom Homan insists that ICE agents are merely, quote, force multipliers intended to handle non-technical duties like management and exit guarding, and the American Federal Government Employees, Federation of Government Employees, the union representing TSA, has slammed the move as a dangerous distraction. Union leaders argue that ICE personnel lack the specialized certification required to operate X-ray machinery and detect sophisticated explosives, especially replacing highly trained security professionals with, quote, pawns in a political game. Let's hear a little bit. ABC News.
We begin tonight with growing travel chaos coast to coast and a new extraordinary move from President Trump ordering federal immigration agents to step in at the nation's airports as early as tomorrow. Passengers are stranded, lines are stretching for hours, and frustration is boiling over. Travelers packed into terminals like here at New York's LaGuardia Airport facing long delays and fears of missed flights. Similar scenes are unfolding nationwide, including New Orleans, where one traveler described the situation as absolute chaos. The root of the crisis, a partial government shutdown, forcing many TSA officers to call out unwilling to work without pay. The hardest hit airports, Houston, New Orleans, Atlanta, and JFK, are seeing the highest call-out rates. Border Czar Tom Homan says he wants ICE agents to handle security so TSA officers can focus on passengers and bag screenings. We have team coverage tonight, beginning with ABC's Morgan Norwood, leading us off from Newark Liberty International Airport.
With scenes like these taking over airports from coast to coast, 4 hours. Tonight, a political standoff in Washington, now colliding with the busy spring break travel crush. The president doubling down on his threat to send ICE agents into airports Monday, unless a deal to fund the Department of Homeland Security is reached. Caught in the middle, some 60,000 TSA officers staring down yet another week without a paycheck. Many now calling out, stifling operations at major airports. A record 3,250 agents, more than 11.5% of the TSA workforce, calling out nationwide on Saturday. Largest percent since the beginning of the shutdown. Places like Houston, New Orleans, Atlanta, and JFK with call-out rates between 30 and 40%.
Oh my God.
Fueling lines winding through terminals and checkpoints choked with travelers. From New Orleans, where TSA lines stretched into the parking lot, Houston and Atlanta, to New York's JFK Airport. But despite the frustration, passengers I spoke with at Newark Airport say ICE isn't the answer.
I think getting our TSA agents back to work is what would make the difference.
The president's threat also raising questions about ICE's training and readiness for security operations.
They run those same type of security machines at the southern border, right? Packages come through or people come through. They run similar assets.
But ICE is interior enforcement. They do not operate screening equipment at the border. Border Czar Tom Homan suggesting ICE would largely jump in to free up TSA agents for specialized tasks like passenger and bag screenings.
But there are roles we can play to release TSA officers from the non-significant roles, such as guarding an exit, so they can get back to the scanning machines and move people quicker.
And now billionaire Elon Musk offering to pay the salaries of TSA personnel. That means covering the 3 weeks of missed pay for the roughly 60,000 TSA employees.
I'd like to see him
According to
try.
data, make about $61,000 per year. A check that would cost millions.
And Lindsay, we are just getting word of the situation down in Houston, one of its busiest airports, George Bush Intercontinental Airport, seeing 3 of its 4 checkpoints topping wait times of more than 3 hours, with Terminal E, one of the busiest terminals, seeing nearly 4-hour wait times, Lindsay.
Major, ladies and gentlemen. That's just crazy. I don't know. I hope that things go well. I hope that we get this bill passed, that it's going to fund the TSA, get them back to work, but who knows? With how petty things are right now, I wouldn't be holding my breath, and I wouldn't be hoping on a check. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you had a wonderful Monday broadcast with me. I had a wonderful time collecting these stories, collecting these clips. I hope that you had an even better time listening to them. I hope that you have, a productive rest of your Monday. I hope that you join us for the rest of our broadcast this week. We do Monday through Friday, you know what I mean? We take the weekends off, so subscribe if you'd like more. Ring the bell if you want notifications, like if you liked it. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for listening to today's broadcast. I have been Ollie Volt Larson with your brain on air. There, I'll enunciate it properly one day. Yeah, whatever. I will catch you in tomorrow's broadcast. I hope that you all had a wonderful time listening. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.